The Raptors take down the Oklahoma City Thunder 117-98. I'm Randy Urban, and welcome to Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Paul Jones, Jack Armstrong, and Sherman Hamilton. We were joined by Paul Jones, but he's left the chat. Where are you, Paul? Come on back to us. This is the perils of doing some Skype shows or some Zoom shows. Jack, I'll start with you. Win streak now at 7 games, longest of the season. How did the Raptors separate themselves in the second half of this game?
You know, it's interesting. You know, you look at games like this, and I'm watching this game tonight, and I say, you know, there's 82 games in a year, and a lot of games get kind of lost in the shuffle. And this is probably one of them where you never really remember what happened, but is it a win or is it a loss? To me, you know, Oklahoma City made a little bit of a run, to their credit, at the end of the second quarter. And now, how do you respond? How do you come out in that third quarter and show that, hey, man, you know what, we're the better team? Because they were the better team the entire first half. And they did just that. So, you know, I don't know if it's about one player. I don't know if it's about anything whatsoever other than the fact that, like, the sum is more important than the parts. You're good. You're solid. You share the ball. You got good players. And it's the old line. You know, what did the great Bear Bryant say? I'm not going to teach you how to win. I'm going to teach you, more importantly, how to not beat yourself. And I think when you look at Toronto versus Oklahoma City tonight, it was a matter of the Raptors do more things on a per-play basis that they don't beat themselves. Mm-hmm. Whereas Oklahoma City is young and inexperienced, and they're all about draft picks. I don't know what their plan is. And quite frankly, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, they got a tremendous number of assets, but at some point in time, they're going to have to do something with them.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is they shoot themselves in the foot enough, and the Raptors don't. And the Raptors are a good team, and the Raptors are built for success in the spring. And they do things right. And, you know, so we can start, and I know we're going to get into each and every guy, but my essence, my soul, my connection with this game tonight was, more importantly, just watching the game and going, there's one team that's just good and solid and pure to their what they want to do, and another one that just doesn't know who they are yet.
Yeah. Interesting. Sherm, same question. Where did you see the separation take place in this game?
Well, clearly, I'm not as deep as Jack. He took me on a level that had me blacking out on the screen. But I would say, you know, along with what Jack said, if we're going to talk particulars of the game, you know, in the first half, I thought Oklahoma City did what they do well. They rebounded the basketball. They had 8 offensive rebounds, created second chance opportunities. And also in the first half, the Raptors were a bit turnover happy. You know, they coughed the ball up. They gave up way too many opportunities to Oklahoma City, 10 turnovers in the first half. The second half, only 4 offensive rebounds given up and only 6 turnovers. So now you take away the little scraps that you were giving Oklahoma City to stay in the game and give themselves a chance to win. You claw those back and now say, beat us with your game, beat us with your shooting, beat us with your half court, beat us with your ability to defend us. And Oklahoma City is just not on the level of the Raptors. And when they got the game, in those quarters, that's where the Raptors were able to take control and just kind of create separation. So I like the fact that, you know, they did what they're supposed to do. This is what you call a professional win. You're not supposed to lose a game like this. Although you can lose any game, if you're trending in the right direction, which the Raptors are, this is a game you're supposed to win. So they came out and they handled their business. And again, Pascal was great in that first half. Fred VanVleet had a big third quarter, and you just see all the parts, as Jack said, come together, do what they're supposed to do on both sides of the basketball. I will say that they're going to have to eventually figure out how to get production from the bench, because a lot of that load is on the starters. But I just think that this was a professional win. They did what they're supposed to do. Now on to Houston tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, when you looked at this team,
Randy, can I say one thing?
For sure.
Before Jones, the one concern I have just watching the Charlotte game and this game is that they are getting a little loose with the ball. and they got to get a little stronger with the ball. And teams are trying to trap them and get the ball out of their hands, which I understand. But that's an important thing, and particularly I think when you get into the playoffs, and the Raptors definitely going to be in the playoffs if they stay healthy. People are going to pick Pascal Siakam up for full court, and they're going to guard him like a point guard. They're not going to guard him anymore like a point forward. They're going to say, "Hey, we're going to get after you now, and we're going to turn you over." And for me, I think the Raptors got to get a little tougher with the ball, a little tighter with the ball. But to me, I think at this point, it's probably nitpicking at this point. But nonetheless, I want to point that out because I think that's something that as the games come along here in the next few weeks, I think that's an area that they can focus on and improve on, because I think they're playing really, really well, but the ball protection's got to get a little better.
Jonesy, Jack mentioned Pascal, 27, 16, and 5, 13 to 17 shooting. Tell me a player that's playing better in the NBA right now than Pascal Siakam.
I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I'm not saying that for shock effect listening to Sherman, Jack, and what they pointed out, part of a professional win is, as Sherm said, they took away the stuff that Oklahoma City was living off and then went into football mentality. Here's what we do, and we're going to do it until you stop us. And if you can't stop us, I'm sorry, you're going to lose because we're not going to change. This is what we do. Siakam got into the paint. If he scored, great. If not, he'd kick it out. They'd swing the ball. They'd get an open look. They'd penetrate. It all started with that, and it was constant, whether it was Pascal. And then they went down low to Scotty. They went down low to OG. It was like, who's Josh Giddey guarding? Go at him. And Jack, I see you laughing. They unveiled the 15 greatest coaches of all time. And I don't remember if Don Nelson was on that list because I just had a cursory look at it. Mm-hmm. But when you played the Warriors, if Don Nelson saw that Randy Urban was the weakest guy, they would call a play called Urban. Yeah. And that's who they were going.
Wouldn't happen, Sherm, but yes.
Well, Randy's heard that his whole life.
I know. He thinks his name. He thought his coach named him Jesus Randy because Jesus Randy. Anyway, you like that one, huh? That was my nickname in first year. But they went at the weak spot in Oklahoma City, and they got a lot of stuff in the paint. And like I said, it was that football mentality. We're going to do this until you stop us. We're not going to do it a little bit, then go away from it. We're just going to keep doing it. And I thought they were really kind of relentless. I never got the feeling Oklahoma City was ever a threat to win the game. I never got that feeling at all at any point tonight.
Jack, what's one common element that you're seeing that's contributing to this win streak? Because that's 7 in a row now.
Well, I would say two things. Number one, I think their defense, when they have to, it's stout. They really are on task in terms of keeping the ball in front of them, pressuring the ball, making it uncomfortable for you to get into your primary opportunities, contesting shots, blocking out and going to get it. Now you can say, well, that's very general, but that's who they are. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing would be that they're true to what their offensive philosophy is, and that is paint touches, swing, spacing, good shot opportunity. And obviously, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam are the straws that stir the drink in terms of that philosophy. But when I reflect on your question, those would be the two things that jump out at me in terms of what they're trying to do, and they're accomplishing it really well. So, I think sometimes we get too caught up in the tactical per play stuff, And we don't get caught up enough in like, hey, this is the habit they are. This is who they are. This is what they do every night. And to me, I think the habits are what they're all about. And I like what they're all about. I'm encouraged. I'm excited about what they're all about. And quite frankly, you could say, well, that's just habits. You got to have next level guys. You know what? I like who they are, and I like where they are. And I'm excited about where they're going to go the next few months.
Mm-hmm. So, Sherm, with that, how do you think the Raptors approach the upcoming trade deadline? Obviously, it's Thursday.
Well, I don't think you say we're not listening to anything. I think you're going to do your due diligence. You're going to see what's out there, see how it fits into your program. And I mean, the management here know what this team needs. They understand. They have a pulse on this team. The only dilemma they might have is maybe the sample size of seeing this team fully healthy and give them everything they want to know. Yeah. But I'd say one thing they could look at during this trade deadline is finding ways to bolster the bench, to get some production from guys coming into the game on the bench. I don't know if that's the top of the list, but if you're talking about trying to save some of the legs of the starters, you're trying to talk about getting production from other areas. I mean, that's something you might be concerned about moving into, the latter months of the season. I just wanted to touch on the question you asked about, Jack, about what they've been doing well during this win streak. Mm-hmm. They have been staying out of each other's way. They do a great job of playing the game, staying in their quote-unquote lanes. And I love the fact that this team, when somebody gets it going, everybody is complicit in making sure that guy gets the ball in positions to score. They don't try to have their own moment. They don't try to go away from that guy. Everybody's in unison. And it sounds simple, but sometimes guys can get, a little bit of, it's my turn now. Mm-hmm. They don't have that. They feed the hot hand. They keep it rolling until the other team stops it.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. Paul, great point.
Yeah. And Paul, when I think back about what I thought about this team before the season started, obviously, how are they going to score? I thought they could be great defensively, obviously with their length and stuff like that. But I wondered about where they would be record wise. And my thoughts came to about 500 for much of the first half of the season. And then I thought that they would gel, and I thought that they would start to separate themselves from the pack in that way. And that's what I'm seeing. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Did you think that, or what was your sort of evaluation of the team before the season, and where do you think it is now?
I was with you. I was around the 500 mark, but I'm willing to adjust that now and say it's going to be better than that, because the parts are coming together well. Fred was a leader. He's showing he's a better leader. You knew Pascal was a good player. He's giving you more than just being a good player. You knew Scotty had promise as a rookie. He's playing like a kid that understands, and he's playing his role well. You knew Gary Trent could score, but he's giving you a little more defense. And all those little extras that you put in the pot are making them a better team. And let's not lose all of this either. Nick Nurse is a guy that gives his players confidence and adjusts to what he has, and doesn't look at what a guy can't do. He looks at what he can do and how we can use that to our advantage. And the stuff that he can't do, all right, we'll live with it. We'll just have to outwork it or make up for it and get him to work on those weaknesses. But we're going to play to our strengths. And I think that's what's happened the last little while. They've got on this run. Sure made a great point. They're staying out of each other's way. And with staying out of each other's way comes the expectation that, hey man, I got a role on this team, and I got to do it well. And when I do it well, and all the other guys do theirs well, and I can see that, we're going to be tough to beat. And if you've ever been on a team, whether it's whatever level we've all played at, or coach, Jack, coaching, when you see a team that's willing to fight for one another or play together like that, we talk about culture. Raptors have that. Man, they play hard every night. They play together every night. And there's no me. It's about we. And Randy, I'm willing to adjust my expectations. As Jack said, they're a playoff team. Mm-hmm. They're a playoff team. Whether they're going to be in the play-in, whether they're going to be top 6, you're not going to see this team just kind of hanging around when the regular season's over. They're going to be playing.
Just one quick thing, Randy. And to me, when I look at this team, we talk a lot about, what they can do, what they don't have. But to me, I think sometimes less is more too. And to Jonesy's point about Nick Nurse is a fabulous coach, arguably one of the best, if not the best coach in the NBA. And to me, I think sometimes as a coach, it's a very, very unpopular thing in today's game to say, I'm only going to play a short group of guys, and I'm going to play to win. And, a lot of people get ticked off. You get the last 5-6 guys on the bench. Everyone's mad at you. Not only that they're mad at you, their agents are mad at you. Their families are mad at you. Everyone's mad at you. And you have to answer for that. And then even the other 2-3 guys that do play, they're not playing as many minutes as they think they should play as reserves. So I think it comes down to conviction too, where you just got to say, you know what? I'm going to play the best guys, and I'm going to try to win. And less is more. And the less guys I play, the more chemistry I develop. And the one thing you cannot argue with, and you have a lot of people in Toronto that are writing about that they have to play these guys less minutes. And I get it. And look, we'll find out in the trade deadline if they can address that role and that issue. But nonetheless, the bottom line is you want to win and you want to play your best guys, and your best guys help you develop that sense of team and winning and chemistry, and you don't beat yourself. And I go back to what Bear Bryant said. I said that quote earlier tonight. I want to teach you how to not beat yourself rather than how to win. And I think a lot of times you learn how to win by not beating yourself. And you know what that means? That means playing less guys that are going to do the better job connecting with each other and playing as a team.
Yeah, spoken like a true coach, Jack. I mean, I feel that same sentiment every time I step on the floor as a coach for my team. But Sherman, is there a player out there that you are thinking that could really help this team? Sure.
No, I don't get into that stuff.
No, come on.
You give me the trade, I'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I'm not into that speculative stuff. I think, let's say, for instance, the Raptors stand pat.
Yeah.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I look across the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I think the Raptors can deal with anybody. I think they can match up with anybody.
I agree.
If they do not make a move, I'm still confident that this team can make a lot of noise down the stretch.
Yeah.
So this is a good situation to be in if you're the Raptors. You don't necessarily have to do anything. If you do something, it's got to be very, very thought out, which this management team will do. But I'm perfectly fine if this team does not make a move because they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Randall, on our daily radio show today, we had Tim Bontemps from ESPN, and he said, he loved the way the Raptors are playing and they're making noise. And, we threw out, the playoff scenario being in the top 6. And he said, well, all they have to do is, if they could make some noise, they could win a round, they could win 2 rounds if they don't have to play Miami or Milwaukee right away. And I thought, I know no regular season game means anything in April or May, but they're 3-0 against Milwaukee this year. And they're 2-1 against Miami. And Milwaukee's never beaten Toronto in a playoff series. And there's all of these things. And there's the Nick Nurse belief and like what Sherm talked about. The Raptors will walk in there and say, hey, man, we got a chip back at our place. We're not afraid of you. Mm-hmm. And we're going to play just as hard as you. And even if you beat us, we're going to make you feel it. So to Sherm's point, I guess just kind of reinforcing it, if you're a Raptor fan, you're waiting for April and say, hey man, who we got? Let's play.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, I just want to say this. And again, I've made my share of mistakes with predictions, believe me. But I will say, I will say this. Oh, believe me. Yes, some people, but nonetheless, I think when you look at the Raptors right now, there's not a team in the Eastern Conference right now that I would not say, in my gut, in my heart, in my belief, that it wouldn't be a 7-game series. If you play Milwaukee, Miami, anybody, I'm saying it's going 7. Now, it's only March, whatever now, it's March 9th right now. I couldn't tell you who's going to win.
February 9th.
Oh, it's February 9th. That's right. It's February 9th. It's so
Jack, everybody's living that Florida life, Jack.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm just so, it's like, but my point is, I couldn't even tell you who would win, who would lose, but I feel really good about the fact that I think the Raptors could take any team in the Eastern Conference right now to 7 games. Can they win the 7th game? Can they win the series? We won't know until we see the true roster in a few days. But nonetheless, even if they don't make a trade, to Sherm's point, I feel really good about where they're heading. And that's a good thing compared to what we went through last year based upon the Tampa experience.
Mm-hmm. Sherm, I thought that one.
By the way, it is February 9th.
Yeah. Sherm, I thought that one player that you were thinking about was going to be me on a 10-day, but I digress. It is not. But I want to ask you real quick. I know we're deep into overtime right now, but what do you make of this Brooklyn Nets James Harden situation? Traded and not traded for Ben Simmons. How do you see that shaking out?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just so discombobulated with your 10-day theory for yourself. James Harden is an interesting guy. I mean, he's a great player. We know that. He's a great scorer. He's a great passer. To be a great player, you got to play defense as well, in my estimation. And I don't think that he's on that level. But he's been banged up this season. And the problem is, if you do move him, in my estimation, and unless the mandates change in the state of New York, you're not going to have Kyrie for a large chunk of the rest of the season. Well, that puts you back in the situation when James Harden was hurt and Kyrie wasn't there. And if Kevin Durant comes back, he's going to have to shoulder another load. And you could argue that's part of the reason why he's banged up right now. So you got to think really hard. And then also in the same conference, in the same division, I don't know if you want to make that trade. Either team. I think if they do it, Ben Simmons will definitely help the Brooklyn Nets. There's no question to me. Going the other way, I don't know how long it will take, but James Harden is going to help Philadelphia. But I just don't understand that trade in the division. That's the only thing I question.
Yeah, interesting. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, I would just say this. I mean, the Nets are super banged up right now. At number one, to give them a little bit of slack, Joe Harris in particular, and obviously Kevin Durant, who will be back, but we don't know what Joe Harris's status is. And Sherm touched on Kyrie. The other thing is, what's the relationship between Daryl Morey and James Harden? And we're not talking about the first level or the second level. It's third, fourth, fifth, sixth connection in terms of what's going on behind the scenes. And there's some smoke. There's probably some fire there. So needless to say, I think both sides are super, super uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, final words?
If you're Philadelphia, you're trying to get some help from Embiid, because he's been the best player the last little while.
You can't waste that season.
I was going to say, are you going to waste that season? But at the same time, I can only think of 3 times in the last 25 years that a trade has been made at the deadline and that guy came in and they won a championship. Clyde Drexler in 95 came to a Houston team that had won the year before. Rasheed Wallace in 2003.
2004. Yeah.
2004, Sherman. You and I were on the desk that night. Remember, Sherman,
Yep.
at NBA TV Canada when the trade was made, and the Pistons beat the Lakers in a 5-game sweep. You know, they gave the Lakers a second game, and
I agree with you on that.
And the
I
third
forgot
trade
that was a trade. Yeah.
And the third
Yeah,
trade was Marc Gasol
Yeah.
to put the Raptors over the top. So it doesn't happen that often because you do have to develop chemistry and like everything else has to be down. And that one guy has to come and fit in at the right spot. And the coach has to get him in at the right time. And it's a heck of a season by Embiid. But maybe you expect this from Embiid next year. Be in shape. Be the player you can be. And maybe you try to get James Harden in free agency. And you can get something else for Ben Simmons in the offseason.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to see how it plays out. And I'm willing to be patient if I'm Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Thank you for going late on this. This was lots of interesting things to talk about, especially with the trade deadline Thursday. I appreciate you doing this. Next game for the Raptors Thursday night. Jack, you want in?
You're not getting a 10-day. According to Sherm, you're not getting a 10-day.
Sure. You saw my jumper.
In life.
In life. I can't even get a 10-day in other things.
No, in life, not even. Like you're holding on by a thread hosting this show.
I've been hosting this show for the whole season. So far, so good. No? I mean,
no. What you don't know might hurt you.
It's silly season, so all the rumors are out, Randall.
Yeah,
and you're just part of it. Like
some
people
right.
aren't buying the 10-day. Sherman.
All right, I appreciate you guys doing this regardless. Sherman, this is the last time you're going to be on the show because I also make the schedule. Anyway, next game for the Raptors Thursday night against the Houston Rockets. Looking for win number 8. Tip-off goes at 8 p.m. Eastern. We will see you then.
I'm protesting you, Herbs.
Thanks, guys.
I knew
Great show.
Excellent discussion, guys. Awesome. As usual.
Good stuff, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
All right, guys.
Thanks, man.
Love it.
Love it.
Hey, guys.
Love
All
you.
right, see you.
Later, guys.
Love you. See you tomorrow. Love you.
You too.